Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast. I'm delighted we're going to welcome back Black Orchid Empire to the podcast in just a moment to chat about their fifth album, Law. But before then, it is the usual reminder to myself, if you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on X and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. But that is enough of that. It's time to get on with the podcast, so let's go. Welcome, Paul from Black Orchid Empire, back to the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you on at another exciting time for the band. How are you this evening?
Very, very well, mate. Nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, it's lovely to get to talk to you. And last time we spoke, we were just touching on before we hit record, was actually 3 years ago with your last album, which seems crazy, but
That is cool.
Black Orchid Empire, here we are again, ready to go. Another album. I've just been listening to it and writing our review, and I'm going to get this in early, listeners. It is stunning. Yeah,
Hey, that's
so
nice.
I mean,
Kind of,
luckily,
yeah.
because if it was awful, it'd be a bit awkward, wouldn't
It's kind of
it?
nice of you to have waited till if you'd have waited till after the interview, it'd have been cleaner. I guess now I can be depending on what I say, I can affect the review.
True.
Yeah, I could be a right asshole and then make it worse. Thank you very much, mate. That's really good. And we're really proud of it. And it's we have been pretty much working on it for all of those 3 years, like obviously not non-stop, but these things take a while to put together.
Yeah.
And it's nice. We're getting a few people sending us reviews that are very positive, and that is obviously always gratifying. It's kind of you got to ignore them in some ways because it's not up, you just make your thing, right? But it is nice when in the review you see the people who are writing it really understood what you're trying to do and really got it, and that's like endlessly gratifying. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love, as you touch on there, with this, as someone that reviews things, you should always write it for yourself and not be interested in what, reviewers in particular are
It'd be
thinking.
pretty awful,
But
pretty awful
yeah,
to write a record that way.
exactly. And I'm very glad, the evolution of the band is continuing. I just wanted to touch on, because, not sure if you've clocked it, but obviously fifth album
Hmm.
and 10 years since the debut record.
Oh
So
yeah.
somewhat of a milestone, in an
That's not
industry.
actually that's not a terrible hit rate, is it? One every couple of years is all right. That's
Exactly, exactly. In an industry that's almost set to, make bands fail.
no, we've actually worked out that that is the secret to success of the band. It's just refusing to quit ever, and eventually, you're still there, and everyone else has left. It'll just be, I don't know, us and the Rolling Stones after a while. If we play our cards right.
Well, and I would believe it. I mean, they've just announced another album, haven't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. When bands a lot earlier spells of their career are happy just to seep into that nostalgia type era. You got Rolling Stones out there still going, nah, we're going to
And I
crack these
mean,
albums out.
well, I think we've all got to really think about the type of planet we want to leave for Keith Richards when
Yeah.
we're all, because it's only going to be him.
Yeah, exactly. Him and the Cockroaches, which
Yeah,
they're using to hype their new album, actually, the band name, the Cockroaches, which I found
on
was fantastic.
album 610. No, I mean yeah, that makes our work rate feel slightly better actually that we've done 5 albums in 10 years. I hadn't actually realized it is a 10-year stint since we first released Archetype. Partly because we were writing the songs for that obviously a couple of years before that, so it doesn't feel like a that's just the release of that
Yeah.
record. But actually, it's longer than that even that we've been doing this band, and the three of us were all in a band previously with other people, so it's been a lot of time playing together, which is cool. But I
Uh,
think we're constantly trying to push ourselves and constantly trying to do things that we haven't done before. So until we run out of the ability to do that, then we'll just keep making stuff.
I mean, and that is something I've picked up on in the review is just the growth and the continued evolution from archetype all the way through to
Yeah.
obviously law.
Mm.
So I mean, you obviously hadn't really clocked that milestone, but as you sit here now, what would you say would you feel is the biggest shift for the band from the debut album to law?
Well, I think the first stuff we did was probably more in a kind of alternative like rock kind of place. It's just dependent on what we were excited about and what we were listening to at the time, probably when we were writing stuff, but definitely more influenced by bands like Queens of Stone Age and Biffy Clyro and those kind of bands, which we still love. Like, and the things that they do really well are kind of melody driven. And in the case of Biffy, like the kind of time signature stuff is really interesting, but it's always in the context of like a rock song. You can get where it is. And then I guess we've developed into a much more progressive metal kind of place. But because I've never done like harsh vocals and we've never had anything other than melodic vocals, that's always meant that we're kind of in a melodic place. And I guess that means that we're still probably considered more of a like rock band than a metal band potentially, but riff wise and like instrumental wise, it's definitely metal. So I think what we've done is probably develop more into the technicality and more into the kind of progressiveness of it. Even between this record and the last one, there's been a definite like push, a deliberate push by us to explore different things. But yeah, I think what stayed the same is probably the sense of song structure and the sense of melody. But what's pushed is it's allowed to get a lot heavier and a lot more techy, while still maintaining all of that stuff. So yeah, I think it's not an accident. It's something that we're very, very conscious of, and we're never trying to do the same thing twice, because it's hard, when you're in a defined genre, even in progressive sort of spaces, it is quite defined. And it's hard not to just write a riff or something and go, oh, we kind of have done that actually. So that's why you always have to push into different places. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the development. I think it's a really positive thing. I still like some of the songs from the earlier stuff as well. I think it's still interesting to listen to. I hope other people feel the same way. But it's weird if you don't feel like your old stuff isn't as good as your new stuff, then it's probably not a good sign. You should be always excited about what you're doing next, really. But there is still value. I think it's not cool to just write off stuff you did early on. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Yeah, absolutely. And that element of the songs you touched on, riffs. When we spoke last time, you revolutionized my thought process of like how artists are recording when you termed something to me called riff farming.
Yes.
And I've never forgotten it. It's just
I
such a
definitely don't think
great.
we invented that term, but we definitely stole it from somewhere. But it's nice that you've stolen it from us, and it's
Well,
like now carrying on.
exactly. And haven't just listened to the album. The phrase I wanted to say coming out of the riff farming
Yeah,
was that you must be really, really like happy with the yield of this crop for this
yeah,
album.
there's a pretty good crop. I mean, yeah, riff writing is a funny thing because it isn't. I think the idea is you just sit down and noodle around and something pops up, and that is kind of how it works. But the idea that you wouldn't still have loads of work to do after you've done that first initial kind of bit of inspiration stuff is, I think, what trips people up. I don't know. I feel like in this genre, a lot of people who are listening to the music are also musicians, and they kind of understand the process a little bit more, probably more so than in like a pop world. So I think people who listen might understand that it's like not particularly easy to put together riffs. Our rule is just like keep it interesting all the time and never get people to nod up, and then you should be okay. But if you find yourself repeating something, you better have a really good reason for repeating it. So it's a real tightrope, man. You've got to be interesting every time, but not boring and not excessive and not silly. Because there's a lot. It's very easy to write very silly things where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, this is really difficult to play, but no one cares at all.
It's a fine balance. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and obviously, listeners, the album, like I say, as a whole, is fantastic. We're going to delve into a couple of the tracks from it now. Angel Fire.
Mm.
Speaking of riffs and everything,
Yeah,
just everything from the band that goes into that song, very, very much sort of like rightfully the first song that emerged for the album.
long
I
time ago
felt.
now as well. Yeah,
It was, yeah, quite a while ago, and I mean, the answer, I suppose, to this might be that it was, one of the first tracks written. But I feel it is very much you listen to it and having heard the album now, go, yeah, that was a great pick as a first track. But
yeah.
was that intentional, to release that track first, or was that just, that was the first track you had?
Yeah, I'd love to pretend that there's some. No, there there is a lot of intentionality, but just we decided, us four, so it's us three and our manager, right? whose label we're releasing this on and is very much part of the team. We kind of decided to start releasing singles early in the process when we were happy that the single was finished, even though the album wasn't finished yet. Um, Partly because it really helps bring the band to different new people to have like lots of stuff coming out, and partly because it's just fun to do that over a long period of time and just build up a kind of interest. But yeah, it wasn't picked from the entire finished album, unfortunately, but it was picked from a few. I mean, also we knew when we wrote it that it was definitely going to be the kind of benchmark for what we wanted to do in that world. There are other moments on the record where it goes off into a way more progressive kind of space, but in terms of the like short, punchy, riffy, kind of powerful little songs that can work as singles, yeah. And we definitely on this record started with writing singles first, not necessarily deliberately, but we were just sure that we wanted to get things that felt really singly, and then after that allowed ourselves a bit more like a bit of a prog holiday on some of them. So yeah, I'm glad you like that. It's we love that song, to be honest, and it still hasn't, we're still not bored of it, which is good.
No, I don't see how you ever could. And I love prog holidays, another one to add to my dictionary there.
Sometimes you got to do the riffs, and sometimes you can go off for 5 or 6 minutes and wank around in like 13/8 or whatever, and that's cool. That's where we spend most of our time, so we're very happy that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Why not? And Angel Fire is obviously having come out a while ago. Has been a song you've been able to play whilst out on the road.
Yeah,
Did it translate across to the stage the way you expected it to?
yeah, literally identically, which is really
Yeah.
cool. Very satisfying to see, like the crowd within the at the second chorus. In fact, that's not even true because it came out and then we did some shows straight afterwards, so they were singing it back to us straight away, which is honestly, anyone that isn't in a band can't really understand what that's like, but it's the best thing in the world. Like to make something in a vacuum and be like, oh, we really like this, and then to turn up and have some people, most of which you don't actually know, sing it back to you is very cool. That is very, very cool. And that was a sign that it was always going to be like a kind of a contender for the set for sure. We're definitely going to be playing it.
Yeah, oh yeah, you've got the live video out for it, which
Yeah.
listeners can check out on YouTube, and just yeah, it for me just made me go, wow, I need to go and see the band again and hear this song live. Absolutely, it sounds so huge. So yeah, listeners, another little tip there for you. And the listeners for Full Pelt, obviously every week we vote on our single of the week, and
Nice.
you recently won single of the week with TriStar. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, obviously listeners really enjoyed that, and obviously, a great track within the middle of the album there that helps to keep the record really flowing well.
Mm.
What can you tell us about the track TriStar? What is the song about?
It's about wanting to get deliberately lost in the Bermuda Triangle. So because we're idiots, we always have like weird themes that go on in our records. And Semaphore was like a sci-fi theme. Tempest was more of a like a historical fiction thing. This is all based on different mythology, which is kind of, it's still just storytelling, but it's stuff that's resonated through different cultures. And I remember even as a kid hearing about like the Bermuda Triangle, it seemed like this really outlandish thing. And it's about all of the songs basically put I kind of put myself in the position of somebody in that situation, and I'm speaking from that point of view. I say I because I'm singing it, but we all write the lyrics together. We all do it collaboratively, um, and so it's about the idea of wondering what's out there and like kind of enjoying the idea of looking over the void and thinking about sort of disappearing into it. So it's, you could take from that what you like. It's quite dark, I suppose, but in another way it's not, because that could be, you don't know that that's got finality to it. It could be the start of a new journey. And it's just playing with, I think it's the reason that that myth is popular, is because it kind of speaks to the humanity of not knowing what's on the other side of something and kind of being interested in it, even if you think it's really dangerous. So that's what that's about. And it manages to sound like quite a serious song, but it is about the Bermuda Triangle, which is quite, that's the kind of thing we like to do.
No, I mean, I was thinking because I read that description of the song, and I was
Yeah.
thinking that when you're a child, there's a lot of things that you think are going to be a big problem in your life, like the Bermuda Triangle, like acid
This really
rain,
doesn't come up. It
quicksand,
doesn't come up.
like
Doesn't come
none of
up.
these things, I've never experienced any of them, and I thought
You're
they were
right.
going to be a big problem for me.
And
But
I would say that 100% of them have been tropes in our songs as well. But like, that's a good idea. That's what our overarching theme is. It's writing songs about things you would thought were going to be like getting, I don't know, trapped too close to a black hole and
yeah,
experiencing some sort of time differential that makes it awkward on your return journey to Earth. That's just never come up.
no, still
But it
waiting. Yeah.
feels it feels like it really is important. No, that's true. And also, a lot of people have been sort of to Bermuda, and it's fine, and round in the adjacent area. Should have like some sort of disclaimer that we don't actually discourage visits,
Yes.
but we're just interested in seeing what happens. Write to us and tell us what happens.
Well, I mean, I think there's an idea for a gig there. If that you
Oh
should
my
be
God,
nice to play
in the
there.
center, just like on a plane in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. No, I
God.
don't think we got the balls. That's amazing.
Oh no, I love it. I mean, perhaps an idea for a video in the future. But I mean, I was going to touch on obviously music videos are something that I'm always raving on about on the podcast. Just
Yeah,
something again as a kid I grew up with, and
yeah,
sadly that's something as a kid I grew up with that's gone away. But YouTube is still there, and you've got some great lyric videos for all of the tracks that you've released with some
yeah.
stunning visuals attached to them, which again, listeners, I encourage you to go and check out. There'll be links in the bio. So, again, just around the concept for
Mm.
those videos, how did you sort of decide that's how you want to approach the videos, and how did you go about putting it into practice?
Yeah, there's a guy that's made those for us. There's a company called Stereo 27, and they're credited in the bids. And he's just got a knack of making really cool visualizers that work. I think he's into the style of music as well, so it really works. It's a tough one with videos because we, same as yourself, we love music video, and I have all these nice memories of watching like Metallica videos as a kid or whatever, and being like, this is so cool, especially when it's like on a mountain with a helicopter going around or something. But then it turns out that hiring a helicopter to fly around a mountain is like a lot of money, and it's not really kind of very practical for the average sort of small metal band. But ironically, you can do a hell of a lot now with less tools. So there's a situation where some people are doing incredible content and incredible videos on small budgets, which is amazing. We kind of made a choice with this one that we didn't really want to do like performance videos in the same way. I think we'll do some live stuff, some more live stuff. I love doing those. Um, but it takes up so much kind of resource. And to be honest, our YouTube channel is nobody cares about our YouTube channel. I don't know why. It would be nice if that changed. It's really hard to promote stuff on YouTube unless it's like your full-time job and you're creating really interesting content. Unless you're essentially, if you're creating the content to suit YouTube, you can make it happen. But we've not really, to be totally transparent, we haven't really had the kind of the time and the resource to put into that. So we do release stuff, but we just don't, it's hard to expect it to get any traction. We've spent all of our time on the music itself. And that is difficult because I see people commenting sometimes. They're like, "How does nobody know about this? How is it not?" And that is tricky. But in reality, it's hard to do. It's really hard to
Yeah,
do. If there isn't like a TV outlet for stuff like there was in the kind of 2000s, um, you could spend a few £1,000s on an incredible video, spend a few days of your life making it, and literally like 400 people would see it, and that just isn't a good transaction. So I really want people to keep on making amazing videos. I'd love to do it for our stuff. I think it'd be fantastic, but it wasn't something we could really do for this album cycle. I think that's partly this is because of the way social media works now. People are used to sort of those barriers being broken down a bit, but it's nice to be able to talk about this stuff really openly with people and say like, this isn't something that's practical to do, even though we want to do it. And I saw a post, I can't remember which artist it was. It was somebody who did a post where they said, I've had to cancel some of my tour because I didn't sell enough tickets. And I was like, that's really nice that you could be honest like that. Instead of going,
absolutely.
oh, due to unforeseen circumstances. And I'm like, they were pretty foreseen. um, and when you can go on tour and you can fill up rooms, it's great. But the reality is it's a slog. It's really difficult to do. It's a really hard job. And it's hard when you're in a very mainstream kind of environment or in a genre that a lot of people like. But it's even harder when you're in a niche genre. The good news is it's like the most fun thing to do ever. So it kind
Yeah.
of keeps you going. But yeah, the video thing, I totally hear you, man. It would be great to do. We've done some really cool ones in the past, and I've always loved doing them. And I'm glad that they exist.
Yeah.
Uh, kind of shows that. And there's lots of the good thing about having been around for a while and doing like our fifth record is there's a lot of stuff that people can go and explore and find out about and enjoy. So you do get, when you release something new, it kind of has a nice knock-on effect on people going and finding everything else. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe one day we'll get back into doing them. We could even potentially do some retroactively, but then yeah, we've got to argue if there's any point to doing that. But we'll have to start a petition or something.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, if I win the lottery, I'll fund you to go and fly
Thanks,
to the
man.
Bermuda Triangle for
I
this
think you get a
this
lot of
project.
benefit. That would have a direct benefit to you as well. I think it's
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, it is fascinating. I do get into the industry sometimes on this podcast and
yeah.
talk about 10 years ago when you put out your debut album,
Mhm.
obviously it was a different world in the music industry. And yeah, you probably wouldn't have, if someone had said, yeah, you're going to have to spend, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to spend like most of your time, not, yeah, you make the album, but then
Yeah,
you've got to make all of this content to put out
yeah,
about this album. And yeah, eventually you'll get to play some shows, but you've got to just focus on social media,
yeah,
and create all
exactly.
these little videos. And it's just like, what? No, that's not what I want to do. I want to play music.
It's true. And then for every time that feels really difficult and impossible, you see a band like Sleep Token just get it exactly
Yeah.
right and blow up, and that's amazing to see. And I really love any time I see a band in anything like this world um, go that kind of big.
Mm.
I think that's fantastic for everybody involved. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, we produce records and run labels and work in the music industry as our jobs. It's what we do, just not for ourselves as much as for other people. So we are very familiar with how that works. And being an artist is an absolute full-time job. And making music that you believe in is easily the most important part of it. But unfortunately, it's not the part you get to do all the time. And I think there's a lot to be said for artists that can understand that you have to have all of it. You have to create amazing stuff. It has to be well produced. It has to sound great. And then you also have to work really hard on your live thing. It can't be an afterthought. It can't be like mostly backing track and a little bit of stuff. It's got to be great. And it's then you also have to have really good socials and all those things. And we're not even very good at practicing this this preaching. But it's if you can get all those things right, you will be successful. The other way of looking at it is that it's infinitely possible to reach the right people now in a way that it just was not. So in those 2000s videos, the only people getting budgets to make them were the tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of percent of the top that were the big enough bands to do that. And you know, now no matter how weird your music is, you can find people that will want to listen to it if you know how to look for them. So I think it's a lovely thing. And I don't think there's anything inherently negative about the current kind of idiom. I just think it's difficult if you've spent your whole career perfecting an art that works in one way and then suddenly it shifts and it leaves you behind. I can imagine how that could be really, really awkward. Um, and being able to kind of change and move with the times is really stressful and challenging. And it feels like every week there's like major algorithmic changes that affect everybody. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it's the same problem that everybody faces at the end of the day. And it's not social media, it's just media. That's how it works now. It
Yeah.
used to be all sorts of different types of media, and the current type of media is TikTok videos and Instagram reels. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, sadly, yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. But it's yeah, it's one of the things that you say you kind of learn to live with
Mhm.
and evolve with. Everyone's in the same boat, but I think frank, honest conversations around it are just really important. I was reading a really fascinating post
Mm.
last night from a band called Campesinos,
Oh yeah.
indie band. And they literally detailed the costs of their recent tour
Yeah, yeah.
in America. Sold out tour, and decent numbers on merch, but then literally detailed like where all of that money goes and then
Yeah.
what's kind of left. And even for me that does have conversations around the industry quite a lot and maybe a lot more switched on than the average music fan would be. For me, it still was so eye-opening to see that the
Yeah.
actual figures, and I thought it was so brave of the band to publish that just so fans can get that insight.
Yeah, it's a weird one. And then every now and again something works in a way that make those sums just irrelevant. And that's the thing. And it's exactly the same. It's just that it's just gone to that next level. So everybody's trying to play that game where they're making break even tours that make a loss happen for long enough for it to suddenly make sense. I mean, it's impossible to overstate how important supporting bands with their merch is. for example. Like that's the only way they can afford to do what they're doing. And I don't just mean like t-shirts, but like buying their vinyls, buying their CDs. That literally keeps people going. But I think the sum is basically if you wanted to just be in a band as your full-time job and not have any other sources of income, you're going to be selling out 3,000 cap venues. That's your kind of starting point. And if your band is anything other than that, it's working towards that. And
Yeah.
that's hard. That's hard as hell to do. That's academy-sized venues, across the UK or whatever. That's
Absolutely.
very, very tough. So yeah,
Yeah, it is. I mean, I always echo the sentiments of, support bands with merch, with vinyl, and it's a
yeah,
nice little segue. I always give out the social handles. Black Orchid Empire is your social handle. Really, really easy across the
yeah,
socials.
it
And
is.
obviously, Law is coming on CD, on vinyl.
Yeah,
You got some great looking t-shirts. I love the TriStar t-shirt I was looking
thanks,
at
man.
earlier. Like, so listeners, again, link will be in the bio as well. Please do, if you're enjoying what you're hearing with Black Orchid Empire, then do please make sure, if you can afford it, go and support the band because it
That
does.
wasn't meant to be like a mercenary segue.
I,
We are actually right now. I'm about to go upstairs and help the guys who've got like all of the pre-orders for everything coming out like on a big table. We're gonna put it all together, all of the kind of pre-order stuff. But it is insane how much that actually directly means that we can do
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
it.
it's so important, and it helps you get out on the road and play shows. Which is again, as a live music fan, that's where I love to be. I love to be
Yeah,
seeing
same.
shows, and I love again. Have caught the band in the past. Looking forward to catching you again, listeners. Really need to catch Black Orchid Empire to hear them live, but also these songs live. So obviously you have got a tour coming up. Listeners,
Yeah.
again, link in the bio. If you can got a date near you that you can get to, highly recommend it. How excited are you to get out and play these songs? Live on stage.
Yeah, we love that. We're changing the setup quite a bit for the first time in a while because obviously this is the first time we've had lots of some new stuff. Although we have been putting some of the singles that have already come out into the set before, but you're definitely going to get a good chunk of new stuff. And definitely on this tour, there'll be songs that we've never played live before ever. So that could be quite fun. Or like diabolically bad, depending on how we do. But we'll see. No, we'll do our best. I
Well,
think
I
we
think fans need to turn up just to see how it goes now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually quite fun. No, we had a one on the last tour where one of our fans was going to propose to his girlfriend, and he really wanted to do it after we played a specific song that we've like never played live before. And you can't say no to that. Of course, you can't say no to that. So we had to rehearse that song just for that specific thing. And I'm like, so if we balls this up, it's not just like a bit of a dodgy show. It's like actually going to ruin his fucking engagement.
Yeah.
Perfect. But that was that. It worked okay, except that he immediately dropped the ring.
Oh no.
As soon as he got her to turn around and did the one knee thing, he dropped it on the floor in the sort of in the crowd.
I
They did
hope she
find it.
said, and she said yes, I hope as well.
She did say yes, which
Oh.
is that would have been a very shit story otherwise, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
She said no. But hey, if we can deal with that pressure, we can deal with anything, surely.
Exactly, exactly. It's great to perform under pressure. Now, to close out the podcast, we always end now on a quick little question around the
Okay.
live side of things.
Yeah.
It, yeah, we've talked about some of the issues in the industry on this podcast. Now, independent music venues, you don't own an independent music venue in 2026 because you want to make a lot of money. You do it because you
Hmm.
love live music and you want to support the grassroots industry for
Yeah.
obviously bands such as yourself to come through.
Yeah.
So I'm creating a list. I want to try and visit all of the venues that get shout outs. So I'm just asking every guest to give a shout out to a venue that means something to them. So Paul, what venue would you like to give a shout out to?
Can I do like more than one?
I'll let you do more than one, yeah.
Thanks, mate. Because there's Star in Guildford, which
Hmm.
we played a few times. We're going to play on this tour, and it's just like it's like an ancient pub that is also a really cool venue, and it's got all of the best of both worlds, and it's not massive, but it's awesome. You should definitely go there if you haven't already. And also, our mate who runs the Bear Cave down in Bournemouth, whose name is Bear. You can see why he did that. Was a lovely, lovely chap, and that's hilarious because it's like a basement where you feel like you're gonna like hit your head, and you cram onto the stage, but it's just got like a giant PA, and like it's always the sweatiest and stupidest gig, and really, really fun. So yeah, those two both get a shout out. To be honest, there are loads of
Yeah.
really. There's more. there's more good venues than I feel like there has been for a while, and it's some of them are owned by breweries or like the part of the pub or whatever, and that's cool. But a lot of them are basically run as passion projects by people who just love it, and especially when they're really good as well, it's really sort of poignant to us. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love seeing bands at Brixton Academy. I love those kinds of shows. I love going to festivals. But if you really want to make a band smile, go and fill out like 100 cap room and buy their t-shirts and jump
Yeah.
up and down, because that is like so much fun.
It is, and like again, I love going to the big venues, a big arena tour, big show. Like
Yeah,
it's fantastic. But there's venues like this in every most at least towns and cities,
yeah,
out there. That it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get in. You're not going to have to travel far to get to it.
yeah,
You might discover your new favorite band. So why not even just take a punt, have a look, see who's on, and go to a show. That'd be my message for listeners. My
good.
other big final message for the listeners, again, is to drill into everything we've talked about. Obviously, Law is out as this podcast comes out. It will be out. So, listeners, obviously,
Right.
make sure you obviously, if you can buy a copy. If not, check it out on the streaming platforms and do what you need to do there. Obviously, if you can buy merch as well, fantastic. Get to a show, follow the band on social media. They're all my big final messages, but I always like to leave the final message to the guests. So, Paul, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Man, just thank you very much for having me. The best thing you can do for us is go and listen to that record that we've made, and then send us a message telling us what you like about it. Tell us what you don't like about it if you want. That's fine too. But we just love to get in touch with people. So uh, for us, music is a shortcut to human connection, and that's what we're interested in. So hit us up, come and see us at a show, have a beer with us, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Shortcut to music connection. Another quote for me to write down. No, thank you so much, Paul, for coming on the podcast.
My absolute pleasure. That's me.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Black Orchid Empire. Do make sure that you check out their fantastic new album, Law, and of course, follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on X and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. Finally, from me, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.